do Brasil. Welcome. Bom dia. It's almost boa tarde. It's 11:30 horas. So after 12, it's boa tarde, tá? Here's my VITEM X family reunion visa update and process. And one thing that may be helpful to you towards the end. So on Tuesday, August, on a whim, I'm sitting at the stadium that my grandson plays soccer at, and by chance, Policia Federal Administration Building for the city of Goiania is right across the street. So I'm like, hey, let's go over there. Let me ask them about my passport and the upcoming tourist visa thing, and can I use the VITEM X visa that I still have? I never used it because I never registered it within the 90 days of my first arrival in February. I just didn't have time. I had to get back to the U.S. I wanted to ask questions about that. The tourist visa, when will it start? Will it be electronic? Will I have to go to the embassy with all my crap? And so we arrive across the street. It's literally like 100 meters. Yeah, meters. I said that. Not yards, right? My brain's changing. Centimeters for inches, and it's all crazy. Liters for gallons, 3.8 to a gallon. Go to the lobby, it's completely empty, plenty of seating, no other customers. I walk up to the front desk guy and I'm asking, I need to check on my VITEM 11 visa, see if I can use that in lieu of going and getting a tourist visa, right, till it expires, because it's in my passport, it says visa. So the front desk guy, very nice gentleman, looks through my passport and asks me to have a seat, he'd be over. He heads over to two guys that just finished lunch. So here's tip number one. And this is what my son-in-law, Antonio, told me. He goes, no, let's go after lunch. Let the games play out. We'll go after lunch because then everybody's full and happy with food. These two guys are just starting to walk down the hallway. He heads over, talks to the two agents, and one guy grabs my passport, kind of like holds it up in the air and just does one of these, like, hey, give me a couple minutes, I'll be back. 10 minutes pass by, returns and calls me over to, they got, the gates, like at Disney, you got all the freaking ropes and shit. Calls me over, and I had my son-in-law with me, Antonio, so he came to translate, which he doesn't speak English. It wasn't that great of a translation, but he helped out. He talks fast, so fast. So the agent questions what I need to know. I begin explaining, hey, I need to leave, etc., on August 10th. And this was lost in translation. It was a little bit of talking for about 2 minutes. He goes, oh, okay. Kind of raises his hand, points to the fellow over there, desk clerk guy. Give him a piece of paper to extend his stay. The young man hands me my paper. No, I'm sorry. This isn't what I need. I'm trying to see information regarding my VITEM 11 family reunion visa versus a tourist visa. I explained that I needed to leave 10th of August to the U.S., and I was telling me the amount of days I had remaining in Brazil, because I got to do trip planning, right? I got to figure out how many days here, how many days there, if I stay there till October or November, but you get the picture. Because my current visa is only stamped for 90 days, and I get that, and I didn't want to extend, and I already spent 15 days in February. So I paged my VITEM 11 visa and show him asking if I'll need a tourist visa since I already have the VITEM 11 visa, which I told him I did not register when I first entered Brazil because I didn't have time, and you got to do that within 90 days of arrival. And then went on to explain that I needed an FBI background check, complete the process here in Brazil, but the State Department is very slow, the apostle process, and he shakes his head, he goes, we know the apostle process is kind of hard, and I wouldn't be able to get that done in order to satisfy the federal police policy for immigration papers here in Brazil. He shook his head and told me, he goes, no. He goes, the Miami consulate already did the approval with all the papers. I don't need any background check subsequent to the one I did originally with the paperwork I turned in Miami. And it was completed and approved in Miami. His hand up, he's just wait a minute. So he comes back about 20 minutes later and says he's a bit confused. Asks me to tell him my arrival dates and departures this year when I came to Brazil. Then asks why immigration at the airport did not receive me into Brazil under my VITEM 11 family reunion visa. I had no answer. I explained the only thing that was out of place for me was my last arrival in May, and I got passed around like a Thanksgiving dish to 3 separate officers.
Well, let's see now. We have on our team, we have who's on first, what's on second, I don't know who's on third.
That's what I want to find out, the guy's name.
Many of those people that are checking you in for immigration, they're just like federal contract workers. They work for some company. They have the clearance to work there. They're not necessarily Policia Federal agents or officers. I'm not sure what they go by. The last guy I was handed off to in May when I arrived at immigration, he looked through my passport, saw the family reunion visa on the computer, looked at my entrance stamps from the past, and in English told me, he goes, "Oh, don't worry, this is good for 1 year." His English was pretty good. I didn't understand what that meant, except I knew the VITEM 11 visa was valid for a period of 1 year, because I got it in January and I knew it was good till January like 4th or 5th. Then the Goiás agent kind of thumbs through my passport and says, "Hey,
Be back."
So 20 minutes passed by and he returns after stating he spoke with his division supervisor. He explained, when I arrived in February for vacation this year, and again in May, the immigration agent did not process me in on my family reunion visa, but as a tourist, meaning my VITEM 11 family reunion visa was kind of hanging out there in the cloud, just sitting waiting to be registered and used. Antonio, my son-in-law, turns to me, slaps me on the shoulder nice and hard, and points to my face like, "You are a lucky boy." I nodded, smiled, I'm still a bit confused, thinking, cool, I don't need the tourist visa until next year, so I'll handle that whole process again. I guess they're going to register my VITEM X now in the system so that I can use it in lieu of a tourist visa, right? That's what's going through my head. Had no idea. He asked for my email address. He said he would email a list of like 6 things to fill out to get the documents back to them. I'd be able to travel. My assumption was just come and go from Brazil until the VITEM X 11 visa expired next year. And you got to understand, I'm still about 70% unsure what is being talked about. My son-in-law speaks really fast. Between him and the agent, I'm still confused. We leave, get into the car. The email arrives asking for the 6 items to be returned to the Policia Federal via the internet and an email. I get home, print out only 2 attachments that they had sent. I had all the other items in my files and on my computer. One is a form that I needed to take to Banco do Brazil and pay a fee, 204 reais, which I guess is about $50. Not even 40. The other is contact information, your telephone, email, the address you live at. I went to Banco do Brazil the following day on Wednesday, August 3rd. The first day that we went there was Tuesday, August 3rd. I went, got my proof of residence in Banco do Brazil, and sent that to Policia Federal Goiás. Within 10 minutes of sending that email, I got an email stating I had an appointment back at the same admin building Thursday, August 5th at 3:10 p.m. If I was late, the process wasn't available again for another month. Not possible, so I'd be out of town. I was going to be in the United States. And we weren't going to miss that. Rita and I Uber over on Thursday, and I made certain to arrive about 25 minutes early because, I'm from the USA. Time of arrival, 14:45. The front desk guy recognizes me and waves me over. Says, "Boa tarde, Mr. Williams." Sees my appointment on the list. He asks for the original documents that scan and which I had emailed the day before. Hand it to him. He asks us to have a seat. Time, 14:49. He walks to a room with my document, walks back through the lobby and says it'll be a few minutes to be called. Time, 14:52. 3 minutes later, he requests me to follow him down the hallway. He ushers me into a small room with an electronic fingerprint machine and a complex camera system, and the woman asks me to have a seat, and she grabs all my documents. She finishes with another man and asks me to move closer to take fingerprints, then points to a chair to take a photo, snaps a few electronic pictures. She hands me the paperwork and asks me to return to the lobby. Time, 15:03. At this point, I'm getting a little bit excited, thinking this is just too much to extend a visa until 2024. I sit next to Rita in the lobby. The woman returns with 2 pieces of paper, hands them to me, and points to a number. She explains, "This is my CRNM number. I'm now a permanent resident of Brazil." I'm like, no, that can't be. It's too easy. She told me to return in 45 days to be issued my permanent residence card. I truly thought I lost the ability to use that because I didn't register that in the first 90 days when I came in February. So happy. I'd like to thank all the people at the Policia Federal. I've never had a bad experience with any of them, so thank you very much to all of them. In my first video of this, how to go through the process in America, I stated you have to have an FBI background check when you get in Brazil. That's wrong. Send an email to the visa section of the consulate responsible for your area. Will they accept local background check? Because it says FBI background check is preferred. But when I did it, I did an FDLE, with Florida Department of Law Enforcement background check. Miami Consulate accepted it. However, there was some confusion on my end, of course, of whether or not that would be accepted. visa officer kind of did this. Like, I don't know if it was because he's the one that gave me my visa. So if you do everything in the United States at the consulate responsible for your area, be LA, Texas, Chicago, New York, Miami, there's many of them. I have them listed on that other video. Watch it. That's it. You're done with that part. You don't need another background check by the FBI or any police. The only time you need the FBI background check for sure is if you arrive in Brazil as a tourist and then want to transition your tourism visa to permanent residence. My suggestion, do everything in America. Come here with all that paperwork, keep it on your computer, keep hard drive with all that stuff on there. Boom, you're done. That's my experience. You don't need an FBI background check unless you are in Brazil starting the whole process.
All right, here's the actual email I received. That first requirement there, both those links lead to the same thing. One is just a longer link in case the first one doesn't connect. And since I was in Brazil, it did not connect immediately. Click that link. You will fill out all your personal information. It's basically who you are, where you live, name, address. The chamante is the caller. If you're married, that will be your wife or husband, the Brazilian citizen. That's the chamante, okay, the caller. You fill that out, you'll print it out, so have a printer handy, and you'll need that to turn in with all your documents. All right, so this is what the link leads to. There's a main occupation. You're gonna have to fumble through and figure out what your occupation was through a code that they find. So try to think in Portuguese, and up in the top, you can change the language from English to Portuguese, and I think French. Oh, the declaration of electronic, that's one of the attachments they'll send to you. Okay, just fill that out. The comprovante de residencia. Okay, when you fill out the electronic one that we just talked about, print that out, that's that. The formularia de pedido de visto, that is the receipt you're going to get at the Brazilian Consulate in the United States. If you have lost that, you're out of luck, and you're going to have to start everything again. So you better hold on to that. It's got a photocopy of your picture and a bunch of signatures from authorities in America at the Brazilian Consulate. The documentation, okay, see the chamante? So my wife, okay, she is the caller. Just a copy of her national ID, front and back. The comprovante de pagamento de tax de emission, GC, anyway, that's your 204 real and 77 centavo tax that you have to pay at Banco do Brazil. And that's how you pay for your CRNM card, your cartão G something nationalization. Okay?
I'd like to thank Mike Becker, the Aussie, the crazy Aussie in Sao Paulo. He runs a Facebook group called Expats Brazil. If you have questions or you're in Brazil and want to transition and don't really know the process, please contact him. He's a wealth of information. He is a paid counselor, and for money, he will do the whole process for you. You are going to be doing the legwork, but he will organize it all properly and make it work smoothly. Many people have used him, and he's got great reviews. Mike Becker, Expats Brazil on Facebook. Thanks, Mike, for letting us 7,000 members all picked his brain, and whether we take that information and go or you use him, either way, you're way ahead of the game. Please contact him. All right. That's all I got.